Today we're going to learn about solving systems of linear equations by another method called elimination. We'll go through these step-by-step instructions as we do the example. So our first example, solve the system of linear equations by elimination. And here's our two equations. Step 1 says, look over your equations. You want either the x's or the y's to match. And when I say match, that means with one of them positive and one of them negative, but the same number. So take a look at our example. Do you see how we have negative 2x and positive 2x? Those two match with one of them positive and one of them negative. So because negative 2x and positive 2x match, we don't need to do this little a and b. We'll do that in the next example. Step 2 is add the two equations together. So we're just going to put a line underneath this and add these two equations vertically. Negative 2x plus 2x, that would be 0. 3y plus a negative y, remember that's a negative 1y, so 3y plus a negative 1y would be positive 2y, and 4 plus a negative 8 would be negative 4. So the 0 we don't need. We simply have 2y equals negative 4. The next part of step 2 says one variable should eliminate. This is what we mean by eliminate. Notice that because we had that match, that negative 2x and the positive 2x, when we added them together, it became 0. Once your equations have eliminated, step 3, solve your new equation. So now we just have 2y equals negative 4, only one variable. We can divide both sides by 2 to figure out that y equals negative 2. Next step, substitute that value, y equals negative 2, back into an original equation and solve for the other variable. So look at your two equations and try to figure out which of these equations looks easier to use. I typically use the one that has smaller numbers or fewer negatives, but it's kind of a toss-up on this one. So I'm just going to pick the top one, negative 2x plus 3y equals 4. We need to plug the negative 2 in place of our y. So negative 2x plus 3 times negative 2 equals 4. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. And now you have an equation that you can fairly easily solve. We would add 6 to both sides. Negative 2x equals 10. Divide both sides by negative 2. And that gives us x equals negative 5. Now remember, you are not done until you've written your answers as an ordered pair. So our solution to this system is negative 5, negative 2. Okay, let's try another one. First step, look through your equations, see if you have a positive-negative match. So we have positive 3x, positive 3x. It's a match, but it's not positive-negative. Positive 2y, negative 2y. There's our match. And if you want to highlight so you can see where that match is and see where things should eliminate, that would be great. So because they match, draw a line underneath. We're going to add these two equations together. 3x plus 3x is 6x. 2y plus a negative 2y is 0. And 4 plus a negative 4 is 0. Now I chose this example for two reasons. First, because I wanted you to see what happens when the y's eliminate, because in example 1 our x's eliminated and now our y's eliminate. And it doesn't matter which one you start with. The other reason I chose this example is we end up with equals 0, and I want you to see that that's not necessarily a bad thing. So we have 6x equals 0, and we need to solve this equation. divide by 6, divide by 6. X equals, what is 0 divided by 6? If you don't remember, plug it into your calculator. 0 divided by 6. 0 divided by 6 is 0. Now that we know that x is 0, we can plug that 0 into one of our equations. Now when I look at these two equations, I see that the top equation, 3x plus 2y equals 4, that's all positive numbers. That's good. So 3x plus 2y equals 4. Plug that 0 in to the x. 3 times 0 plus 2y equals 4. 3 times 0 is 0. Divide both sides by 2 to get y equals 2. And you are not done until you've written your answer, your solution, as an ordered pair. Our x value was 0. Our y value was 2. This type of solving systems is called elimination because adding these two equations together when they're set up in this way eliminates one of the variables. In example 1, look back at example 1, we eliminated the x's. In example 2, we eliminated the y's. So turn the page and let's see another example. Okay, the problem with this example, when we check our x's and y's, negative 10x, negative 5x. Those don't match. They aren't the same number. Positive 3y, negative 6y. Those don't match. But I do see positive 3 and negative 6. Is there a way we could maybe make 3 turn into 6? It'd be really nice if this was a positive 6y. I don't know why it won't let me write that 6. So we really want that to be a positive 6y. What could we do to turn it into a positive 6y? We could multiply this entire equation by 2. Okay? Now, you have to put parentheses around the equation and multiply the entire equation by 2. So over here, let's rewrite it. 2 times negative 10x would be negative 20x. 2 times 3y would be positive 6y. 2 times 1 would be 2. Once you have the top equation multiplied by 2, now recopy the bottom equation right underneath it. Make sure you write this neatly and line things up. Okay? Now this problem is exactly like example 1 and 2. You've got positive 6y and negative 6y, which will eliminate and give you 0. Add the other things together vertically and then solve the equation. Why don't you finish this one on your own and then go through it with Miss Clary in a few minutes. Negative 20x minus 5x is negative 25x. 2 plus 23 is 25. So we have negative 25x equals 25. So x equals negative 1. Now we get to pick an equation. We could pick the original equation before we multiplied it. We could pick the original second equation, or we could even pick the equation after we multiplied it. I would suggest picking the equation that looks the easiest. I'm just going to pick the negative 10x plus 3y equals 1. X is negative 1, so plug negative 1 in. That would be positive 10 plus 3y equals 1. Subtract 10 on both sides. 3y equals negative 9. divide both sides by 3, and we get y equals -3. You are not done until you have rewritten your equation as -1, -3. And if you hear a kid screaming in the background, I apologize, that's my daughter. I'm going to let Miss Clary lead you through example 4. I want you to look at the difference in example 4 from the previous examples. The big difference is, notice all of these are positive. So think about what you're going to have to multiply by in order to get this system set up properly for elimination.